We're all going to be thrilled if Donald Trump wins on election night, as we expect. There's only one person who I think could be more thrilled than any of us, Jesse, and that's probably Joe Biden. That's a matter for another day. But I do think that we are going to have a winning coalition here that unites the country, maybe even Joe Biden along with us.
All right. Well, like you said, it really is about voters seizing the opportunity themselves.
All right, guys, if you're wondering where we are right now, I'm currently in the process of building the studio for our election night mega stream. It's not the final product. Don't worry. I know something like this curtain behind me needs to be fixed or whatever. But I do want to say before I begin this video, first of all, subscribe if you're new. Greatly appreciated. Supports our work. But also, we will be live around 6, maybe 7, probably 6 p.m. Eastern time on election night. And we're going to stream really as long as it takes. Okay, so be sure to tune in. It's going to be a great stream. We got a whole setup going. We're going to have guests on the panel. It's going to be great. So make sure, folks, you're tuned in. Election night, no other place you need to be than right here. But with that said, as we prepare, a little kind of funny, I guess, story I want to close out this election season with is apparently Joe Biden has been banned from the Kamala campaign. Okay, not literally, but the Kamala campaign has canceled him from all upcoming Zoom calls, speeches, whatever else. Big reason probably is the garbage comment that you may know of. And they just said, okay, Joe, get off the cameras. You're done. Okay, you're going home. Just keep Joe locked away. Don't, but there are other reasons potentially we'll talk about in a second. But first, here is that reporting from Fox News. It'll make you laugh. Okay, this is just too good. Check it out.
Tonight, Fox News has learned multiple campaign calls that were publicly advised on the president's schedule for yesterday afternoon were canceled as he faces continuing fallout over his garbage comment on a Zoom earlier this week. None of the calls that had been scheduled were officially sanctioned by or affiliated with the Harris campaign, and Biden has no official campaign events on his schedule ahead of the election, Brad.
Yeah, no, it's hilarious. They've literally just taken him off. They said, Joe, get off. Okay, you're not doing anything else. They canceled the campaign. And by the way, they weren't having him doing anything super important. But you saw even the last time when he did a very minor campaign fundraiser call that wasn't even officially sanctioned or affiliated, he really screwed it up. Okay, and so they just went out and said, you're done. No more of this. But it's funny, because the garbage comment, it seems, is not the only reason why they took him off, because even after he said that, they were still letting Joe go out and campaign. And then look at what he said about 24 hours later. You might have missed this one. I know everyone saw the garbage comment, but take a listen to what he went on to say further.
But I'm serious. These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
Yeah, for context there, yes, Joe Biden was indeed referring to Trump supporters. He says he wants to smack us in the ass. Yes, that is literally what he said. Okay. It's funny, too, because it really makes you wonder why Joe Biden was out there campaigning for Kamala Harris to begin with. Even from a practical perspective, we know there's a reason Kamala wants to distance herself away from Joe as much as possible because, yeah, Joe is obviously very unpopular. But on top of that, we have the running theory on this channel that Joe is in covert ways trying to sabotage or undermine Kamala because he is very salty about what they did to him. But, I'll be totally honest with you guys. I think it's Joe that wants to go out and campaign because he still wants the spotlight, right? So I'm guessing what happened here is finally when he screwed it up that badly, Kamala and her people finally had the leverage to say, okay, Joe, let's be real now. You need to shut the heck up. Just get off. Stop talking. Don't do anything else. So it's certainly funny to see. And Joe Biden is reportedly not the only Kamala campaign surrogate that's been taken off the cameras in the final days of this election. Apparently, the same is true of Mark Cuban after he went out and did this.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple.
It's hilarious. They just keep on shooting themselves in the foot with these comments. Biden says they're garbage. Mark Cuban now is insinuating that every woman who supports Trump or works with Trump is actually just dumb. And ever since this comment, it's now being reported that Mark Cuban is also being canned from public appearances because he just keeps going out there and making a fool of himself. And it's in the final week of the election, there is no better way to galvanize galvanize low propensity Trump voters than going out and reminding them that, hey, they think you're garbage, they think you're scum, they think you're weak and unintelligent, etc. Because I know a lot of the Kamala people and even just political people in general may make the argument that these types of comments are not going to heavily impact the election. You know, they're not going to sway undecided voters last minute because Biden said Trump supporters are garbage or scum or whatever. And that's probably true. Okay, I don't think these types of instances change people's minds, but what they do is galvanize the low propensity Trump voters, right? We're talking about people who support Trump, but maybe, you know, they're a little lazy. They're probably not going to go vote. You just gave them the extra motivation they needed to drive turnout in the last days of the election. And before you want to say that maybe that's not true, it absolutely is. You know why? Because Democrats are trying to do the same thing. That's the point of their whole thing with Madison Square Garden, which when the average genuine centrist independent voter hears the argument that Trump doing a rally in MSG makes him a Nazi, they might sort of question that, and you could make the argument, no, it'll convince them. I don't think it will. The real point is to drive fear among the Democratic base, so that way your less likely voters make sure they show up to the polls. It's the same thing with the Liz Cheney scandal. It's the same thing with all of the Trump hoaxes they've been spreading over the past couple of days. So yes, Democrats obviously understand that that type of stuff has an impact. So it's hard to deny in the flip side, in the reverse, that Mark Cuban saying this, Biden saying this, they're not creating negative liabilities because it may galvanize low propensity Trump supporters to go and actually show up to the polls. How can you argue against that? It's obviously true.
This week marks a huge mistake for Donald Trump in a community within the Latino world that he desperately needs.
Yeah, would you say that as far as surrogates go this week, it was a bigger problem for a comedian that most people have never heard of? Or was it a bigger problem for Joe Biden as a surrogate to call half the country garbage? Or even a bigger problem today for Mark Cuban to insult women voters who are thinking of voting Republican? Of those three surrogate issues, which would you say, Biden and Cuban, or this guy, I can't even remember his name?
The one difference in that is the reaction to it. I see your point, Scott, and we obviously talked about Biden's remark here. We're going to talk about Mark Cuban's comment in a moment. But Biden came out immediately to clarify that. Mark Cuban came out today to talk about his. Donald Trump has just claimed he didn't know who the comedian was at his
I'm sure
rally.
he doesn't, A, and B,
the
campaign had a statement out before Donald Trump ever even took the stage. They dealt with it immediately.
No, that statement came out after the rally was over. I know because I was at Madison Square Garden for 8 hours on Sunday.
Again, the campaign is not the candidate. The candidate could have
persuaded
and spoken against this, and he has not.
Then you must agree that it's been kind of weird for the Kamala Harris's campaign through anonymous statements from staffers to change all of her positions on every issue then?
Wait, Scott, just come.
Correct. But that's just such unbelievable cope. Oh, the campaign is not the candidate, as if there's a serious difference. No, in both cases, whether it's the comedian, whether it's Joe Biden or Mark Cuban saying it, people heard what they heard. Okay? Your clarification or who puts out the clarification, nobody actually cares. Nobody really listens. Maybe you could make the case that they should. Maybe people should look into, did the campaign? But first of all, the campaign is not the candidate. What does that even mean? The campaign literally kind of is the candidate, right? Like it was officially on Trump's behalf. So that doesn't even make any sense. But are you somehow going to make the argument to me that because Joe Biden went out 24 hours later and said, I messed up, I shouldn't have said that, I was saying that, is that really going to stop, again, the people who are pissed off about that? Is that going to change their minds? Do apologies in our modern culture ever really work? Whether it's Mark Cuban, Joe Biden, or Donald Trump saying it? No. Again, people hear the initial thing, they react to it. It's just pure cope to say otherwise. The point is, guys, to all the Trump supporters who have not voted yet, you're planning to do so on Election Day. All right, remember what they said about you. Remember what Joe Biden said about you. Remember what Mark Cuban said about you. Remember as Caitlin Collins and CNN try to downplay that. That's exactly what they think of you. That should be the final message. So, go give them the statement or whatever. Go vote. That's all you got to do. All right, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new. Join us 6 p.m. Eastern time on the evening of election night for wall-to-wall coverage. And until next time, God bless and peace.